Well, good evening, and once again, welcome to our video cast. This will be our third one. I'm kind of excited about that. Today I'm going to talk about something that probably is a little controversial, and that's the fact that there's really no such thing as a conservative Christian. Now, I'm not trying to offend anyone or cause some sort of religious disturbance in the force, but you should know that I am Reverend David Chadrick, and that I am in the process of writing a book where I've read 10 English translations of the Bible, and I'm comparing and contrasting them. So I'm not the kind of guy that you go to hear me preach every weekend, but I'm the guy who's sitting down and doing research. So I have done research on the things that I'm about to tell you. So what I mean when I say that it's a myth that there's a conservative Christian, it's the fact that you really can't be completely conservative and still be a Christian. I know some of you are like, what? What are you talking about? But let's take a look at the Bible and the things that it says. And I'm just going to take 4 examples. There's many more things that I could go into, but hey, I'm a little lazy and I didn't want to do days of research, nor did I want a 3-hour video to bore you. And believe me, I've got tons of stuff I could do that. So the first thing I want to talk to you is about immigration. And the reason why I chose immigration first is literally, it is listed how we should honor immigrants over and over in the Bible. So many times, I can't even imagine that I have to list biblical passages to talk about it. All right? I'm sorry. Jesus was all about immigrants. And, the Samaritans are Jews that are married to Gentiles, and how he was, kind to them, and was, you need to accept these people when they come in to Israel. So, if you think that you're in the right by saying, well, these immigrants don't belong here, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But please don't tell me that you're a Christian. Because if you are anti-immigration, you are anti-God, you're anti-Jesus, and you're anti-Christianity. So then, of course, the second thing I want to talk about is that there's all this, well, I don't want to pay for food stamps for people. Well, why not? I mean, Christ talks about feeding people and healing the sick and visiting prisons. So, food stamps and who gets them, that's very important if you're a Christian. And why wouldn't you want people to get food stamps? Now, if you're operating a food bank out of your church, well, good for you. That's another great way you can help poor people. But there's, this idea that you can be a Christian and think that food stamps are bad. And you pick, I remember years ago, they picked some lazy piece of crap surfer dude in LA who was scamming the food stamp system, as if that was the typical person on food stamps. Well, it's not. I'm kind of familiar with people who are on food stamps, and most of them have physical disabilities. They're children, right? And I understand that you don't like to give money to drug addicts, but their kids need to eat. And so the idea that you're against, providing food for poor people, that's not a Christian concept. And in the same light, treating the sick, we're talking about, the Affordable Care Act. And I'm sorry, okay? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a big fan of the Affordable Care Act. Why? Because I think that universal health care is stupid? Absolutely not. I just think that there are better ideas and better ways we could have gone about it. So, but by the same token, I think it's a lot easier to fix something that's already in place than to throw it out and try to start over again. But people, well, what does Jesus have to do with Obamacare? Well, what did Jesus do? He ran all over the place healing people. Do you think that he was against, universal health care? Do you think that he would be protesting Obamacare? I don't think so. The idea that everybody is getting health care is about as Christian and as Jesus-like as you could possibly get. So if you don't believe that people should be able to get affordable health care, then you're not thinking like a Christian. And then I'm going to talk about Black Lives Matter. And you're like, well, where is that in the Bible? Well, it's tons of places in the Bible. You know, they weren't called black people. They were called lepers. They were called Samaritans. But do you think God was talking about anybody who isn't disenfranchised? Everybody who's in that situation. So my question is to you, what's your problem with Black Lives Matter? These are people who are protesting because bad things are happening to them. Now, they don't need the help of white people. They can certainly do it by themselves. What they need from us is our support. And one of the best ways we could support them is, let's not send a bunch of white supremacists and a bunch of Antifa to their peaceful demonstrations to make it all about white people again. Back off. You don't need to show up at the demonstrations. They're there. Let's keep them peaceful. Let's support them 100%. But not by coming down and being thugs and bringing guns. And we don't need anyone besides the police coming in to police us. We don't need the feds. We don't need a bunch of Antifa. We don't need a bunch of, you know, all these wild white supremacist groups. If you don't support Black Lives Matter, then you're basically saying Black lives don't matter. Why would you want to be in that position? That is the most hateful position I could ever think of anyone taking. If you are protesting the Black Lives Matter movement, that's just not a Christian thing to do. So the thing you have to realize about being a conservative Christian is I'm very conservative politically. Calamity and I clash constantly over things. I was a Republican until the Republicans decided to support Trump. But when I was in the Republican Party, it was when I was a kid and my mother was heavily involved in fighting the injustices during the Civil Rights Movement, which the Republicans were in full force. And now we flip so badly that we're discriminating against gay people. It's still a civil rights issue. And I'm not going to get into that because there's just too much debate. And I don't have time for the gay thing. That would have to be an entire episode just on that. You're going to have to live with the fact that God and Jesus are liberals. All right? They have conservative values just like I do. I want people to be fiscally responsible. I'm about as Republican as it can get when it comes to things like I really want a balanced budget. But I can't go with a party that goes against my religious beliefs. And I'm sorry. If your church tells you that you shouldn't do the things that God and Jesus would do in these 4 situations that I'm bringing up now, you can see why I say that being a conservative Christian is a myth. You can't be conservative and be a Christian. It's just not possible. So that's just something that I want all of you out there who are telling me that it's okay to discriminate against immigrants, poor people, people who are disenfranchised for whatever reason. You're not following Christian principles. So I actually invite any kind of comment or feedback. You know, I've had people tell me, well, God wasn't a sucker. Jesus wouldn't have been stupid and let these people flood our country. I think you need to think about what Jesus would have done. Are you really reading the Bible? Or are you listening to ministers who are just regurgitating stuff that's been taken out of context back to you? And something you need to think about. So you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next Sunday. And talk to you later. Bye now.